Then comes conclusion. This conclusion page is only one page. You have to conclude your result. You have to start your thesis is about this. You have enrolled this family. This is your simple conclusion. This gene, this this exon, this is the change. What kind of mutation, frame shift, missense, whatever it is, in this family and the family's hem, which is correlating with your family's phenotype. This and this having this much affected individual in the family. And if you want to mention one line about the future prospect of your thesis. Then comes references. References are, you have to follow the format. I think it's mentioned in the other page. The simple Vancouver style format is given by the university. Whatever references you used in the thesis, you must mention here in the references sections. Then come annexure. Annexure should be, this is the last part of your thesis. Your annexures are two. One is your medical history form, the other is the consent form. There are two annexures in your thesis, okay? So you have to mention annexure 1 and annexure 2, and you have to give them, okay? That's it. This is a simple format of your thesis that all of you must use it, okay? Then comes this thesis guideline, which is given by the university. Let's have a quickly look at it. If anything left from there. Yeah, margins. The margin of the thesis is like from the top, bottom, and right. It is 2.54 from all these sides. From the left side, you have to leave 4 centimeter because the left side is for the binding. So you must keep the page margin before starting the thesis. You must keep the page margin set and then do the rest of the settings. Otherwise, your whole setting will be disturbed. Then comes the line spacing. It's always 1.5 for normally. Okay, but for the figures and headings, they have mentioned that for headings like the subheadings, figures, tables, any caption, if you are using any footnote, using any endnote, if you are using, that must be single spaced, okay? So after every table, before every table, figure, it means anything extra than the text, you should keep the line spacing 1. And before and after spacing between paragraph, it is 6 point, okay? This thing you can see at the very end, this line spacing and stuff when you are done with the thesis. Okay, major and minor headings, they have mentions recent ones, so you have to use those one. Figures table, you have to write like this, table 1.1, okay, like table 3.2, something like this you have to mention. Table title must be on the top of the table. Figure title must be at the bottom of the figure, okay? Figure and graphs should be at the bottom, and table type titles are at the top. And for this you have to use the font size 10 for tables, charts, figures, graphs, okay? It's not 12. Okay, then comes the binding of the thesis. For the binding of the thesis, all students need to submit electronic PDF version of the thesis, and there must be checked with the Turnitin. Your plagiarism must be checked, which is less than 19%, and where single source plagiarism should not be more than 4%. This is also important, that if you are using one paper, and your one paper plagiarism must not be more than it must not touch 4, okay? It should be less than 4 for one paper, from one paper, okay, or one source. Then the binding of the thesis is normally A4 paper, 80-gram paper, and you have to prepare 3 copies. Tape binding, okay. Yeah, for the hard binding, there are some rules for hard binding. You can see later on when you are till the hard binding stage. You can see from here, okay? Okay, yeah. Let's come to the structure of thesis. We have mentioned everything. Yeah. One more time, if you want to see the abstract, abstract should be clear project overview, concise description and explanation. So you just mention 1 or 2 line of the background and what is the why you did this study. Okay, what is the importance? It's only one paragraph, 2 to 3 line or 4 lines for all this thing. Then comes the methodology. You have to mention how the study design, sampling, how your data collected, and so on. The next paragraph is about the results. The last paragraph is about the conclusion. Okay, it can be 1 or 2 page, 300 to 400 words. So introduction, when we're talking about the introduction, it should be structured as follows, like context of the topic, then the scope and focus of the topic, and the importance of the relevance. Why this is important, what is the relevance that you are studying. Okay, what's the relevance? You have to mention these things. Then comes the aims and objective. Then comes the literature review. It surveys the literature in your chosen area. It synthesize information into a summary. Just don't copy paste. It critically analyzes the information gathered, and you have to identify the gaps. Actually, in literature, you should identify the gaps of the current knowledge. Also, if there is any limitation by your already known data, you can tell something is flaw or something is missing. You can mention here. Plus it should be organized. It should be organized. Either your heading should be topic wise, or either your heading should be like chronologically, which year what has been mentioned. Okay, so better to do the topic wise when you are breaking your topic. If you're talking about neurological disorder, you're talking about the genes, you're talking about autosomal recessive disorder, you're talking about any particular gene mutations, the type of the mutations, NGS, exon sequencing, whatever is your in your thesis, you can mention. So a good literature review is structured as an essay. Please give it a read, this whole text, okay? And you can highlight your stuff, important stuff for you. Introduction should be your topic, provide a review of the literature, establish your reason why you're doing this, and explain the organization, like sequence wise you have to mention the data. Then comes the middle part, main body part of the literature, the pages of the central pages. It should be insight into the relation between your chosen topic with the wider areas, that if this is this topic, this can further be this and this. Then comes the last is the conclusion and summary of your whole literature review, that how you can outline the areas of the future study, link your study with the existing knowledge, and so on. So this is, yeah, for discussion they have mentioned some of the more aspects, so you can give it a read. Okay, if just quickly give it a read. Explain your finding results in relation to whatever already known. You should refer back to your introduction and establish if you have found something which is consistent with the literature, existing literature, and that if you find it same, if you find it controversial. If your findings are unexpected and controversial, you need to explain that why do you think this happened? Why do you think your methodology is different, or sample is different, or procedure is different, or maybe genetic makeup is different, or what happened? At this point, make sure you sufficiently justified your methodological decision, that why you took this methodology and why it gave you this result, and so on. This is usually for those theses which are usually like designing a protocol. This is not this methodology is not for your thesis. Provide one or more recommendations, like what you think in future further can be done on your thesis. The what research that you have mentioned, like anything future, as I already discussed in the previous video, that you can mention it. Make sure you address all the results, including those that were not statistically significant. You might also want to revisit the introduction at this point and put more emphasis on the studies that have been relevant for the interpretation of your result. Okay. Then comes conclusion is what is the aims and objective of your thesis. They all should be addressed, answered in your conclusion. Okay, so you can open your aims and objective and answer those all one by one in your conclusion. Indicate the extent at which the aims has been achieved. If they all achieved, yes, you have to mention. Summarize the key findings, outcomes, highlight the significance of your result. The last line should be impactful. Okay, that's it. Then comes your references. References should be given at the end in the Vancouver style.